Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Star Flames. If you're new here, subscribe, turn on your notification bell and join the family. In this video guys, we're gonna talk about Diddy's legal team turning Cassie into a major villain in his case. Let's get into it. Now, I believe that the strategy that his legal team is using against Cassie to make Diddy not look like so much of a monster, I honestly believe it's gonna work in Diddy's favor, but not to the extent that they're hoping it to. What I mean, let me explain. Now, already, immediately after Cassie filed that lawsuit, we could see many people coming out believing that Cassie was a clout chaser. She was just out for money and attention. She wanted fame and she was willing to sacrifice her peace, her happiness for fame, money, and clout. That is what many people believe before that, hotel footage was released. In that footage, we could see Sean Diddy Combs putting hands and feet on Cassie Ventura. So, long before that footage was released, many people believe that Cassie was a clout chaser. She was just with Diddy for clout, money, fame, and attention. So, I believe with them trying to flip the script, I do believe it's gonna work a little bit, but not to the extent that Diddy and his legal team is hoping. Not just that, Diddy has a new power play attorney. This attorney specializes in bank fraud and wire and bank fraud, right? No. When I tell you that Diddy still has good money, this is what I'm talking about. The man is worth close to $2 billion, if not over $2 billion. And this is coming from his settlement with Diageo. You can say, oh, but he dropped the lawsuit. Remember that he had 50% shares in De Leon. He had a major share in Ciroc as well. Remember that they're no longer in partnership. What happens when partnership ends? Well, Diddy would get his payout. They may play around with it. They may play around a little bit with the numbers. But of course, at the end of the day, they're going to send him a check. And we know that he sold his shares in Revolt TV. He sold majority of his shares, which was also a decent amount of change. Now, let's get into this report. I see the court, I see the bail appeal, but I don't know if you guys want me to go through it with you guys. Let me know in the comment section and I'll do so because I see already many people going through it. So we're just going to keep it as short and as sweet as possible. Now, according to TMZ, lock your windows, lock your doors, look under your bed. TMZ is definitely always there. Now, according to TMZ, shocking new claims from Diddy and his legal team. They believe the federal government orchestrated the leak of Cassie beating video to the media. Now, according to the new legal documents obtained by TMZ, attorney accused the feds of misconduct in his criminal case, namely by alleging orchestrating the leak of the Cassie tape to CNN. A 2016 video shows Sean Diddy Combs assaulting then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura in an altercation that matches some allegations in now settled lawsuit. The video in question is from 2016 and it shows Diddy brutally beating Cassie in the hallway of the swanky hotel, Los Angeles hotel, during their relationship. In the docs, Diddy is specifically blaming the Department of Homeland Security, not the U.S. Attorney Office. Now, Diddy's lawyer claimed that the day CNN published the Cassie video, May 17th, a correspondent from the network contacted a member of Diddy's team to see comment on a video they intended to publish in a few hours. Now, with correspondent indicating CNN came across a video and currently have in our possession surveillance footage from the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles in 2016. His attorneys say after being approached by CNN, they emailed the prosecutor assigned to Diddy's case and told them they had gotten word CNN had been given a videotape of the Intercontinental Hotel from 2016 and told prosecutors, my concern is that someone, not any of you and not the lead case agent, provided this footage to CNN. I bring this to your attention slowly. solely because I imagine you didn't want this to happen any more than I do. Diddy's lawyer says after CNN released the video on May 17th, an assistant United States attorney assigned to the case responded. And they said, I quote, "I really appreciate you giving us a heads up. We have now seen the video," end quote. Now, his attorney says the DHS is likely the source of the leak for a few reasons, pointing out DHS agents were often quoted in news stories about Diddy raids and investigation. Diddy's legal team also says Cassie was likely not a source of the leak because her lawsuit against Diddy didn't make it seem like she had the tape and she had no motive to leak it to the press. They're also saying instead, Diddy's camp say the tape is being leaked to CNN shows a motive to damage Mr. Combs' reputation without remuneration, a motive held by federal agents. The timing of the leak is also interesting, Diddy lawyer says, pointing out on May 17th there was a break in Donald Trump trial and thus a slow news day that would give more attention to the Cassie tape. Also, Diddy's lawyer wants an evidentiary hearing to craft a remedy so the judge can assess and determine appropriate relief. Diddy takes more shots at the feds in the docks, claiming the raid on his home in Los Angeles and Miami were overly brutal, accusing federal agents of uncuffing his kids. Now, guys, that's the end of the report. Now, in the court documents, I've seen it, so I can tell you some of the things that came out in the court documents. The lawyer, the new attorney that Diddy has, that lawyer is very good, and that lawyer is coming out with some punches. Now, what they're saying is that they have held Diddy without bail, and irrespective of that, they cannot provide any of the evidence that they have against him, which the victims are claiming. Also, as it relates to them saying that Sean Diddy Combs is not eligible for bail because he might be able to coerce victims or alleged victims, and he has made phone calls to victims. Now his lawyer is saying that that's definitely not the case. It is actually one of the accused who reached out to him, and he advised the accused that the accused is not supposed to reach out to him because of the pending lawsuit and also because of the pending indictment. So this new lawyer that he has, she is definitely throwing some punches. Not just that, she's also saying that, with that tape of Cassie Ventura getting beat down, what she's using as excuse is the fact that, listen up, she's saying both Diddy and Cassie were embroiled in a toxic relationship and both parties use a drug. So as such, she's saying oftentimes because both of them were so toxic and abusing drugs, both of them would end up in a fight, which is not a cause from Sean Diddy Combs' side, which is not a cause from Cassie Ventura's side. It's just the drug that both of them were using that influences such behavior. Her name is Ana Estevao. She is a very good attorney. So she's coming out and pointing out that there were several clauses in Diddy's arrest that was violated. And also as it relates to the Bail Reform Act, she's saying that they have held Diddy, without any bail prior to trial, irrespective of the fact that they have no evidence against him. So the arguing points are very, very strong, and it's one that you really cannot deny. With this new attorney, Anna, what she's actually doing, she's highlighting that there is hypocrisy in this case. She's also suggesting that, people are playing their hands to ensure that Mr. Combs is being held behind bars. Now, she's saying that the case is rather extreme and unusual. She says that immediately after he was charged, even though he has been in the spotlight his entire life, with many of his purported antics and episodes being widely reported in the press and known to law enforcement authorities. Indeed, hardly a risk of flight. He is 54. He's a 54-year-old father of 7, a U.S. citizen, and an extraordinarily successful artist, businessman, philanthropist, and one of the most recognizable people on earth. The sensationalism surrounding his arrest has distorted the bail analysis. Mr. Combs was not released pending trial, even though he offered to comply with restrictive conditions that would have prevented any conceivable risk of flight or danger. They're saying the district court detained Mr. Combs in a conclusory, bare bones oral ruling. Apparently, because of unspecified concerns that he would obstruct justice and intimidate witnesses. The government argues about the risk of obstructions were based on speculation resting mainly on untested allegations about communication with witnesses in civil cases and communications initiated by supposed witnesses and not Mr. Combs. The government even claims his public denial of a former girlfriend allegation in a civil lawsuit constituted attempts to obstruct justice. If denying accusations by civil plaintiffs could justify pretrial detention, the Liberty Protection of the Bail Reform Act and the Constitution, not to mention the First Amendment, would be meaningless. Throughout the bail proceedings below, Mr. Combs rebutted the government's proffers, but without fact-finding or analysis, the district court endorsed the government exaggerated rhetoric and ordered Mr. Combs denied. In doing so, the court committed a legal error, rejected a plainly sufficient bail package, and violated its obligations under the Bail Reform Act. Mr. Combs is presumed innocent. He traveled to New York to surrender because he knew he was going to be indicted. He took extraordinary steps to demonstrate that he intended to face and contest the charges, not flee. He presented a bail package that would plainly stop him from posing a danger to anyone or contacting any witnesses under the Bail Reform Act. Liberty is the norm, and the detention prior to trial or without trial is the carefully limited exception. Now, they further state Mr. Combs is entitled to release under federal rule of appellate procedures and immediate release pending disposition. Now, they're also saying this appeal under federal rule of appellate procedure. So they're saying that Sean Diddy Combs is entitled to bail under these guidelines because they're saying Sean Diddy Combs, he did everything. He cooperated with them. He basically surrendered all the travel documents. Now, we're going to continue. They're saying that whether the district court's obstruction and witnessing tampering conclusion lack a factual basis and misapplied the law. So they're saying what they did, they basically misapplied the law, which prevented Sean Diddy Combs from getting bail. Now, so guys, you can see that Sean Diddy Combs' new attorney, Anna Estivo, is definitely applying the pressure. She's highlighting everything that they have done wrong. And not just that, they are asking for a copy of all the evidence they have because she's saying, you can hold him and deny him bail if the evidence is overwhelming. But in this case, where's your evidence from these alleged victims? Now, Anna Estivo is a highly accomplished attorney, as I've said to you guys. She works with a Tremonte law firm specializing in complex criminal proceedings, internal investigations, and commercial litigations. She has a strong track record of representing clients in high-stakes cases involving various types of fraud, money laundering, cyberstalking, extortion, and more. She has successfully defended a client against charges of being a felon in possession of a firearm, resulting in not guilty. She has also been successful in the appeal court, and she argued that the sentencing court misinterpreted a provision of the sentencing guidelines, leading to a resentencing. And the list goes on. This lady, she doesn't misses. She doesn't lose. She plays hard ball. But the thing is, with this case, with this Sean Diddy Combs case, what she's saying is basically, there's so many suspicions in this case. She has highlighted that there are certain things that was just taken out of order. They did not follow the necessary guidelines. And as such, they are seeking for Sean Diddy Combs' bail to be acknowledged. Now, what is further argued is that despite Mr. Combs' offer to surrender on September 16, 2024, the government issued him on a 3-count indictment charging racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and interstate transportation to engage in prostitution. The government claims the core of this case is freak-off activity, which allegedly involved elaborate and produced sex performances that Combs arranged, directed, masturbated during, and often electronically recorded. Mr. Combs believes the evidence will show that to the extent such activities occurred. So basically what she's saying is that what he's going to show is that such activities occurred. All individuals who participated were adults voluntarily engaging in consensual sex. So he's saying that the evidence, if they look closely at these tapes, they're going to see that everyone who's involved in these freak-off activities were willing participants. Now, according to the bail proceeding, it continues to say Mr. Combs was arraigned on September 17, 2024 before Magistrate Judge Robin F. Tarnowski and pled not guilty. The government sought detention, arguing that Mr. Combs presented a risk of flight, danger to the community, risk of obstruction, and witness tampering. Despite Mr. Combs' robust bail proposal, Judge Tarnowski denied him. Mr. Combs appealed. The district court, Carter J., held a bail hearing on September 18, 2024. The court began noting that the government primarily seeks detention based on risk of flight, the danger of obstruction of justice, or witness tampering. The court indicated that based upon the parties' written submission, it's lesser concern. So basically they're saying, he's not a flight risk. And the bigger concern is with the danger of obstruction and witness tampering. So Sean Diddy Combs' attorney, they're arguing that the government reiterated the indictment allegations and only vaguely alluded to possible witness testimony and evidence, primarily relying on a widely publicized March 5th, 2016 video of Mr. Combs dispatching a domestic violence incident with former girlfriend, victim one. So they're talking about Cassie. The government also mentioned text messages and phone calls between Mr. Combs and potential witnesses, primarily witnesses in civil lawsuits filed against Mr. Combs. Now, additionally, the government went so far as to argue that Mr. Combs' public statement that a civil lawsuit was riddled with lies were attempts by him to obstruct justice. Regarding the March 5th, 2016 video, defense counsel explained that Mr. Combs and victim one shared a 10-year romantic relationship that was often mutually toxic. Counsel noted that countless written communications tend to negate any lack of consent and any coercion regarding their sexual activity, and cited evidence showing a long-term loving relationship that became strained by mutual infidelity and jealousy. The overwhelming written communication describing their consensual sexual relationship, including communication concerning their mutual decision to bring a third party into their intimacy. Their violence depicted in the March 5th, 2016 video was entirely separate, stemming from jealousy from infidelity 8.5 years ago. Defense counsel cited interviews with half a dozen male escorts who participated in freak-offs described by the government and confirmed they never witnessed anything remotely non-consensual. Counsel explained that both Mr. Combs and victim one, which is Cassie, both suffered a serious drug problem at the time of the video. and subsequently participated in rehab before eventually separating in 2018. Counsel further explains Mr. Combs' communications regarding Victim 1 November 2023 lawsuit, which is Cassie again. Years after the couple's separation, a lawyer representing Cassie demanded a $30 million payout from Mr. Combs in exchange for the rights to a tell-all book Cassie had supposedly written. When Mr. Combs refused, Cassie retained a new counsel who filed a lawsuit, which was quickly concluded with a large settlement. So it shows that the settlement wasn't as small as people say. Now, they continue to say this prompted a torrent of other lawsuits. Although Mr. Combs communicated with others about the conduct alleged in these civil suits, including individuals the government now characterizes as victims. At the time, he knew nothing about the Sydney's investigation and was not engaging in any attempt obstruction. The government had no response other than to say Mr. Combs certainly suspected the possibility of an investigation, citing his statement he was not supposed to be speaking on the phone. Defense counsel also rebutted the government's other obstruction and witness tampering allegations regarding a civil lawsuit filed against Mr. Combs on September 10, 2024. After the suit was filed, Mr. Combs spoke with an individual the lawsuit identified as a prominent witness to his alleged violence. The individual in question was very upset about publicity and wanted to make a public statement that her personal experience diverged from the lawsuit allegations. As counsel explained, this witness was represented by an attorney at the time of the communication and could be an important defense witness with whom the defense will likely continue speak. Counsel further explained that Mr. Combs had, with counsel blessings, called potential defensive witness to let them know that counsel would reach out to speak to them. Notably, search warrant affidavit disclosed to the defense on October 7, 2024, but during its proffer to the court, the government concealed this fact, which completely undermines its claims that the timing of the contacts with the witnesses in September 2024 suggests obstruction. Although the government vaguely describes contact with two grand jury witnesses, it proffered no evidence of any threats or intimidation. The government could only state that there were 14 total contacts between Mr. Combs and one witness, and another witness who was contacted multiple times. Defense counsel explained these contacts involved no obstruction or witness tampering. For example, one witness contacted Mr. Combs, not the other way around. She reached out to Mr. Combs and told him, "I'm a grand jury witness." After Mr. Combs informed defense counsel, he was instructed not to contact the witness anymore and didn't. Of course, the defense explained it must continue to interview witness to conduct a responsible defense investigation. So guys, we're going to leave that right here. If you want to hear the remaining portions of that court document, leave a comment below and I'll do another video updating you on what else is included. But so far, you guys have gotten the essence that Diddy's attorney, the new attorney, she is one that is very brutal. She plays hardball. And not just that, and we're talking about Miss Anna Estevao, right? And not just that, she's also pointing out irregularities in Sean Diddy Combs' case. And I believe that is something that we all need to pay attention to. Whether you may believe Sean Diddy Combs is guilty or innocent, I believe that is very important because she is highlighting that once there's irregularities in the case, it means that something is up. And as Sloan has told us, Diddy's not going to go to trial. They're going to keep messing with him until he can't take it anymore. The question is, what did Diddy really do to make these people so mad at him, to make them so angry? Are these people his handlers? Definitely, it's not told us. So, the only other thing I should say we want to know is if these handlers have anything to do with Diageo. I want to hear from you guys, and we want to hear that. Like, we need some evidence. We need something backing that speculation up. Okay. But that's all I have to share with you guys. Let me know your thoughts and see you guys later. Bye, guys.